Hey guys, what's up everyone? This is the Shank, and this is Wednesday night when I'm recording this commentary right now, and I'm sure a lot of people know that the NCAA tournament is actually coming up tomorrow, but before I get into talking about that, I want to notify you guys that I have a new commentary up on Beast Media, so you can go check that out. The link to that will be in the description, and there should be an annotation for that popping up on the screen now, but I'd like to talk about the NCAA tournament because it is coming up tomorrow. And it's something I always take part in because, it's a lot of fun. You could go into pools with your friends at school, your family, your parents, your friends, and whatnot. And I actually made a few brackets up on ESPN.com, which I usually do. I've been doing that for the last few years because I think you can make up to 10 brackets. And in the past, you could win up to $1 million. And I think this year it's only $10,000. But I was gonna do it on like Fox Sports or what's the other one? CBS, but I think you actually have to have a perfect bracket to win $1 million on that. And to get a perfect bracket is very, very unlikely. And I think the winner on ESPN actually might have had 3 first-round losses. Like his bracket wasn't perfect, and the very best person on ESPN when there's millions of people sending in ones. So, I'm not banking on a perfect bracket, but if I got one, it'd be pretty cool. I made about 7 of them. Only one of them I took a lot of time into making. It actually took a couple hours, not a couple hours, maybe an hour and a half into making one of them. I did a lot of research on it and basically just put my research that I acquired and my own knowledge into picking it. So I'm actually going to share it with you guys, and you can give your feedback on it, like if you think it's a good idea for this pick, or we could kind of just share what everyone's picked for their brackets. I'm sure a lot of you guys are into that. So first game right here, Ohio State versus the 16 seed, who I can't even read. It says AL State or UTSA. I guess they haven't even determined who they're going to play yet, but Ohio State's one of the best teams in the country, as I have them coming out with the W in this game. The second game, I'm just reading down the list. These aren't in order of when the games are played, but I'm just reading down my list right here. I'm on ESPN.com, but second game is George Mason versus Villanova. George Mason has the 8 seed, Villanova has the 9 seed. George Mason is a very hot team right now, and Villanova has been struggling down the stretch. They were one of the top teams in the Big East to start off the season, but they're looking pretty weak right now, so I have George Mason coming out with the W. The next game is West Virginia and Clemson. I didn't really look into this one all that much, but I know West Virginia is in the Big East, and the Big East is a strong conference. They got the 5 seed, Clemson has the 12 seed, and Clemson actually had to play an opening round game just to get to that spot, and I just haven't heard anything super great about them, so I picked them. The next game is number 4 Kentucky at number 13 Princeton, and I actually only live about 10 to 15 minutes from Princeton University, but I'm kind of rooting for them to win, but in reality I know Kentucky's going to come out with it because Kentucky's in the SEC. They're a really competitive team, and I actually have them going on a couple more rounds, but I would like Princeton to move on, but I just don't see it happening. The next game is Xavier versus Marquette. I have Marquette with the upset over Xavier. And again, I know Xavier, I think they're A10, but I think Marquette, just playing with all those good Big East teams, is just going to come out with the upset. Then I have Syracuse versus Indiana State. Syracuse is the 3 seed, and again, they're Big East. They're one of the top teams. I have them coming out with the W. And then Washington, Georgia. I actually have Washington coming out with this one. This is just what the experts said. Any of the games I wasn't really sure on, I just picked what the experts said. And if you would like to follow along by bringing up an empty bracket, 'cause you guys are probably getting a little bit lost right now. But next game's UNC versus LIU. And of course, UNC is going to come out with the W, bearing any unforeseen upset. And then Duke is playing Hampton. Duke's the number 1 seed. They're coming out with the W. And I'm on to the next region right now. Then I have Michigan over Tennessee. And in the next game, I have Memphis over Arizona, actually. And Memphis is the 12 seed, but I have them beating Arizona because Arizona is kind of in a pretty weak conference compared to Memphis. And Memphis has been very good in years past. They have a good starting 5, so I have them coming out with the W. Then I have Texas, Oakland. And a lot of people have actually picked Oakland to upset Texas. And a lot of people are thinking that Texas isn't deserving of the 4 seed spot, but I still think they have enough firepower to come out with the win there. Then I have Cincy over Missouri. I'm really thinking this is taking a lot of time, so I'm just going to go through some of these pretty quickly. UConn over Bucknell, Temple over Penn State, SDSU over Northern Colorado. I guess I'll get into more detail with the other the later round games, because that's only half of them, and I'm already at 4.5 minutes, so I don't want to make this too long. I have Kansas over Boston U, Illinois over UNLV, Richmond, which is an upset, over Vanderbilt, Louisville taking out Morehead State, and I actually have Morehead State winning in some of those matchups, but in my main bracket that I'm using, I don't. Then I have Georgetown over VCU, Purdue over St. Peter's, Texas A&M over Florida State, Notre Dame over Akron, Pittsburgh over UNC Asheville, Butler over ODU, Kansas State over Utah State, and then I have Belmont upsetting Wisconsin as on the 13 seed. That's one of my big upsets. Then I have St. John's beating Gonzaga, BYU taking out Wofford, Michigan State upsetting UCLA. I think Michigan State is going to do pretty well in the tournament, even though they have a low seed. And then I have Florida taking out UCSB. So now we are down to my field of 32. I have Ohio State taking out George Mason. I know George Mason is on a hot streak, but they can't really keep it up against a 1 seed, one of the best teams in the country, and a lot of people that think Ohio State's going all the way, so I got Ohio State coming out with the W there. And then I have Kentucky over West Virginia. Again, West Virginia is a battle-tested team. They're part of the Big East Conference, which is one of the best in the country, but I think Kentucky is just too talented, and they have too many good players, even though they've had all the legal troubles as of recently with their players, but I still think they're going to come out with the W. Then I have Syracuse, Marquette. That's the next game. I have Syracuse coming out with the W. That's a Big East matchup right there. And I think Syracuse definitely just has too much firepower for them. And I actually have Washington upsetting UNC, which is pretty surprising. I'm sure a lot of people don't actually have this in their bracket, but I just think UNC has been a little bit, I won't want to say overrated, but I think they're going to have an early exit from the tournament. If that works out, it would be good, but if it doesn't work out, then not looking so good. But it's always good to have one of those upsets in the tournament, because there's a lot of people that probably don't have that, and it's potential that there's going to be at least one of them. The next matchup is Duke versus Michigan. Duke's a 1 seed. I think they're going to take out Michigan quite easily. Then Memphis, Texas. Again, Texas is pretty weak, but they're going to have an easy road to the Sweet 16, I think, because they're only playing number 12, Memphis. They're going to come out with the W. Then I have UConn over Cincy, another Big East battle. There's going to be a ton. There's 10 Big East teams in this tournament this year, which is pretty crazy. And then I actually have Temple upsetting SDSU. And I think SDSU is just in a weak conference, and Temple has actually beat some solid teams. So I have number 7 Temple over SDSU getting to the Sweet 16. Where am I going now? Up on the top right portion of the bracket, I have Kansas over Illinois. I think Kansas is going to do some. Those two brothers, what are they, Maurice? The Morris brothers, Maurice and something else, Morris. They're just absolute beasts. They're just going to do some work. But I have Louisville over Richmond. I really like Richmond, and I think they have a good chance to get to the Sweet 16. But I think Louisville, just being a great Big East team and having a lot of key wins down the stretch, is going to come out with the W there. I have Purdue over Georgetown, and this was one I had kind of struggled with, but Georgetown has kind of stumbled near the end of the season, and Purdue's got the 3 seed, so I actually have them moving on. And then Texas A&M and Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame is going to come out with it there. They're a 2 seed. They're one of the best teams in the Big East again. Down to the bottom portion now. I have Pittsburgh over Butler. And Butler is usually one of those Cinderella teams that people have going pretty far, but I think Pittsburgh, being the 1 seed and being a very good team, is going to take them out quite easily. Kansas State, Belmont. Belmont had their... I think they're going to be a little bit overwhelmed that they were able to win that first round game, so I don't think they're going to be going much farther than that. And Kansas State's been really talented. They had struggled at the beginning of the season, but I think they're going to come out with the W. In the next game, I have... Who do I have? St. John's and BYU, and this is very surprising because BYU has Jimmer Fredette, one of the best scorers in the country, but St. John's has proven it can beat some of the best teams in the country, so I actually have St. John's upsetting BYU. And then Michigan State, Florida. I think Florida's going to come out with the win. They've just been very, very deep this year. A lot of great players, even though Michigan State is a low seed. I think they're a much better team than the 10 seed, but I still think Florida is going to come out with the win. So that's my Sweet 16 right there. And now we're going to move on and get a little bit closer to the Final Four. The Elite 8, I have Ohio State over Kentucky. Again, just too much firepower. And then I actually have Syracuse beating Washington. They actually were lucky, and they were able to, because Washington upset UNC. So Syracuse is going to play Washington. I think they're going to be too tough for them. And Washington, again, will be overwhelmed with the defeat of UNC. And then Duke, Texas. Texas is a weak team. They got an easy ride to the Sweet 16, but Duke is going to take them out quite swiftly and easily. And then UConn, Temple. I have UConn coming out with the win in this. UConn is a great team. Kemba Walker is a beast. And then Kansas, Louisville. And actually, a lot of people have Kansas losing here. But I think Kansas is just way too much for Louisville. Barring any unforeseen injuries, I definitely think they're going to be able to come out with the win. Notre Dame, Purdue. I actually have Notre Dame winning this matchup. And a lot of people actually did have Purdue, but I chose Notre Dame. And then Pittsburgh, Kansas State. I got Pittsburgh going on in that. St. John's and Florida. I'm going to have St. John's upset Florida. I don't know. We'll see. St. John's is going to the Elite Eight. We'll see if that happens. I don't know for now, but I'm hoping for it because my bracket says that. Then I have Ohio State. Oh, this is Elite Eight now. I have Ohio State over Syracuse to get to the Final Four. Duke over UConn to get to the Final Four. And then Kansas over Notre Dame, Final Four. And then Pittsburgh over St. John's. You know, St. John's had a good run, but there's no way they're getting to the Final Four. So I have all the 1 seeds in the Final Four. A lot of people say that that's dumb, or that's noobish, I guess you could say. I guess you could say I'm using the AK-74U and picking my picking my teams. I don't know, but that's just, I really pick all the 1 seeds, but that's just what I feel like is the right thing to do this year. Then I have Kansas beating Pittsburgh to go to the championship game, and I have Ohio State beating Duke to go to the championship game. And my champion for the NCAA tournament is, drumroll, Kansas. I think Kansas is going to come out with it. Actually, President Barack Obama actually picked Kansas too. That's not why I'm picking it, but I just think Kansas is the best team in the country, although Ohio State is very good as well. So that is my teams right there that I picked. So you guys could leave down in the comments who you have winning, who you have like in your bracket or whatever. I'd be interested to see what you guys have, and hopefully I'll get an update video of how I'm doing, maybe sometime this weekend after the first round games are all over. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Be sure to give it a thumbs up rating if you enjoyed, and I will see everyone next time. Peace out, YouTube.